I don't know about you, but I just melt when we hear music like that. It's so beautiful. Thank you. So, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Sue Forbes, and I want to welcome all of you here in the room and all of you who might be watching this later on the video to this morning's celebration of spirituality and community. Our mission at North Shore Unitarian is to empower people to live with depth, meaning, and purpose. And central to that is gathering on Sunday mornings to fire our curiosity, strengthen our will, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within and around us. And it seems like we might need to put a little extra effort into that project these days, doesn't it? There's so much going on out there, and much of it is not good. But hopefully what we do today here is good. In this congregation, we welcome diversity of all kinds, knowing we do not have to be or think alike to love alike. We strive to create a community where certainty transforms into dialogue and questioning, where strangers transform into friends, and where we take what is and imagine what could be. With that in mind, we note that we meet on the traditional lands of the Coast Salish peoples, whose ancestors were the first human inhabitants of this beautiful part of the world. May we have the courage and humility to learn more about our Indigenous neighbors, their history, and their culture. Our emphasis today is on the joy of what might be called distributed ministry, shared ministry. And this is an important topic for us because for the next year or two at least, our congregation will continue to be lay-led meaning that we all share the tasks of ministering to each other. And to lead our services, we supplement our in-house talents, such as they are, pretty good, I think, most of the time, with a variety, I'm not speaking for myself, but others. We supplement our talents with a variety of guest speakers. And today, we are delighted to have Mary Bennett back with us. Mary keeps in close touch with several folks at North Shore as part of the Climate Sharing Circle and other discussion groups. And as a former executive director of our national association, the Canadian Unitarian Council, she has some professional insights on the topic of shared ministry. Mary grew up on the North Shore, and among several career experiences, she taught at Cap College after earning an education degree. She also taught at BCIT and was later appointed to their board of trustees, serving as chair of education and then vice chair. She seems to get promoted wherever she goes. Mary has 2 adult sons and 2 teenaged, well, they're actually young adult grandkids. And she lives in a housing co-op in Kitsilano, and in 2022 was recognized as Community Builder of the Year for all the multi-generational and community projects that she offers as a volunteer. Mary jokes that she has only one topic she's passionate about, but it has many facets. In particular, connection, creativity, change, self-exploration, and collaboration. And that's what her service on shared ministry is about. It's really all of those things in one basket. It's always a pleasure to work with Mary. We have creative and fun chats when we collaborate. And I now welcome Mary to share our opening words.
Thanks, Sue. It is true. We have these chats that start off being trying to find the description of the service, then go off into many different channels, collaborative. So I'm happy to be here again. It's lovely to visit your campus and check out your butterfly garden. That might not be at its very best right now. So the opening words are by Rebecca Savage. We come to spiritual community this morning with many hopes in our hearts. The hope for inspiration, the hope for comfort, the hope for renewal. In this time and space, may inspiration water our thirsty souls. In this time and space, may comfort blossom in the gardens of our hearts and bring us sweet relief. In this time and space, may renewal course through us, as electric as a surge of energy, as serene as a nourishing meal, as contagious as joy, and bring us vitality and rejuvenation. May our time together honor all the hopes we hold within. May our time together bless us with the gifts of inspiration, comfort, and renewal. Let us worship together.
When the Spirit says do,
And right now, the Spirit is wanting me to ask Mary up to help light our chalice. And I'm going to work real hard to get the words right this time. I seem to have made a few flubs. We kindle this flame as a symbol of our gathering. Light of understanding, illuminate our darkness. May the warmth of sharing bring us peace. And as Mary lights a second candle, we are reminded that in this community of care, we hold and witness one another through the seasons of our lives. May our sanctuary hold whatever is on your mind today. There is always room among us for life's joys and sorrows, celebrations and mournings, and everything in between. And does anybody have any joys that they'd like to shout out this morning? Nothing in particular? No 100th birthdays? Okay. Well, as for some sad news, I know some of you shared in the celebration of life for Pat Davies, held here yesterday afternoon. Pat and her husband, the late Pat Way, were both longtime members of this congregation, and now they will both be missed. And on a more surprising note, I imagine for many of you, you may not have heard that Marie Bensley died just this past Thursday afternoon. Yeah. And Marie, along with her husband Jim Bensley, was a very involved member of this community for many decades. She was a powerhouse. She passed away at Lionsgate Hospital while being treated for pneumonia, and she'd had several recent hospitalizations for heart-related issues. But it wasn't very long ago, I think Barry and I were trying to remember, that she was here taking part in a meeting. Was it the budget meeting? I'm not just sure. It was fairly recent, though. Jim has his family supporting him, but I'm sure he'd be happy to hear from any of you that know them well. And now, as Mary lights a third candle, our candle of global concerns, I find myself thinking deeply about the principles that guide our Unitarian tradition in Canada. Many of them seem to me imminently at risk in the world right now. The idea of inherent worth and dignity of all. The call for a responsible search for truth and meaning. The goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. The respect for the independent web of our existence. And remarkably, even in the West, the right of conscience and the importance of the democratic process in society at large. It's as if many people, including very powerful world leaders, have forgotten Joni Mitchell's famous admonition. I bet some of you can remember these words. They're from The Big Yellow Taxi, which came out 55 years ago this year. It doesn't seem that long ago, does it? But she sang, "Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone?" And with that in mind, I quote J.B. Pritzker, the current governor of Illinois, who in a moving speech in his legislature just recently reminded people that tyranny requires our fear and our silence and our compliance. Democracy requires our courage. Timely words to ponder as we, together, now close our eyes and breathe deeply 3 times as we remember our values and extend to all beings the courage and the compassion we offer one another here. 3 long breaths to yourself. May democracy and peace someday come to each and all. Now, please stand as you're able to sing what we might call our theme song for our service today, Wake Now My Senses.
Well, as I said last time I was here, I've enjoyed the service so far. It's great to hear this fabulous music, and you are blessed with Allison as your choir director and music director. And many others in this room. So here's a story you may have heard. It's about 3 bricklayers. Anyone know this story? Yeah, less common than I thought. Well, there are 3 bricklayers, and you ask them, what are they doing? The first one looks at you quizzically and says, I'm laying bricks, obviously. The second one has a broader understanding of his task, and he pipes up, we're building a wall. The third, more of a big picture type, says, we're building a cathedral, and it's going to be awesome. I learned through trying to find the origin of this story, it's actually based on a true story. In 1666, architect Christopher Wren was commissioned to build St. Paul's Cathedral in London. After it was well underway, he walked by and encountered 3 bricklayers who said virtually those responses to his inquiry of what they were doing. The story is often used to encourage the difference that having purpose and meaning, the big picture, can have to people and the result. But just so we don't put down bricklayers or plumbers or baristas, let me quote Martin Luther King, in this case about street sweepers. If a person is called to be a street sweeper, he said, he should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted or Beethoven composed music or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. Bringing the story of the bricklayers into church life, imagine a visitor coming in early on a Sunday morning and asking some of you stalwarts who have arrived early, what is it that you are doing? Are you setting up tech, giving out orders of service, organizing the coffee station? But when you're also focused on these various tasks, what are you really doing? That's the point of the bricklayer story and the point of the concept and practice of shared ministry. Are you simply focused on that task, or are you building an awesome community? Or are you even, as the song says, working toward a planet transformed by our care? Admittedly, the visitor might not get it or even be put off a bit if you replied, well, it may look like all I'm doing is handing out paper, but what I'm really doing is building a community. And beyond that, we are all here working toward a planet transformed by our care. Would you perhaps like to mingle your calling with ours? Not really our style, is it? Well, you can think something like that because I believe it's true, but maybe better to say something like, oh, I often come in a little bit early to see if there's some way I can help out. I don't think we've met yet. I'm Mary. Nice to meet you. Hospitality to the stranger could well be part of everyone's ministry here at North Shore, creating a welcoming, peaceful space so that everyone will feel relaxed and therefore open to hearing the message and music of today's service is such an important part of building an awesome religious community. Who knows, maybe the visitor will ask a few more questions. You might introduce them to one of the regulars who will show them around, and perhaps they'll chat with you and others after the service about how to get more involved. That's how I like to think it works. But let's first look at what is shared ministry in the context of Canadian Unitarianism. Early in the time I worked for the Canadian Unitarian Council as executive director, the CUC board set up a shared ministry task force. There was a lot of change happening, and in a truly Canadian way, we kept setting up task forces as our version of royal commissions. This was one of many groups charged with looking at various specific aspects of what CUC did. Social justice, statement of principles, lay chaplaincy, all of these separate groups worked for a couple of years to consult with Unitarians and UUs across Canada and come up with reports of how to move forward independent of the UUA. Each task force had a diverse group, including ordained and lay members, and usually a youth and young adult member as well. The Shared Ministry Task Force met over a 2-year period and came up with this definition, along with various recommendations to encourage congregations and professional ministers to embrace the concept. Here's the definition. Ministry is the act of serving. Shared ministry is what we, do to serve our congregation and the broader community, individually and together. Each individual brings unique gifts to contribute. I like all of this fine, even 20 years later, except for the asterisk explanation of who we are. The task force said we includes members of the congregation, paid staff, and ordained ministers. Mary's version of this definition would broaden the we to include those who, for whatever reason, are not official members, but want to share in the congregation's work of serving the congregation and the broader community. People like me, for instance. I'd like it if you considered me as part of your ministry. But why call it ministry anyhow, that stuff that we do? I remember early on loving the song, Wake Now My Senses, but when we got to the part of Wake Now My Vision of Ministry Clear, I was a bit nonplussed. Over the many years since then, I've grown comfortable with some of the religious language we use, ministry, sacred, even the word church. I believe this language can uplift our sense of engagement and invite us to a higher level of pride, generosity, etc. Words are so important, and church is a different context than other parts of our lives where we might volunteer, and so we might need different words. After all, we're not just laying bricks here, folks. One assumes the cathedral builder might be enjoying their work more. That's what I imagine, at least. And perhaps they're paying more attention to making sure the bricks are straight and the mortar even. That's what I imagine. And probably when the cathedral is built, they'll feel very proud of their contribution to it. So North Shore Unitarians have been doing this grand experiment in shared ministry and plan to continue at least for another 2 years without a professional minister. I've heard Bruce Grierson call this distributed ministry. I like that term fine too. Shared ministry, distributed, collaborative, the idea is similar. You are the largest congregation in Canada without a paid ordained minister. So let's just pause for a moment and applaud all of those who have stepped up in the past while to invest even more of their time, treasure, and talent into making sure North Shore Unitarian remains an awesome religious community. What concerns me, though, sometimes is I've seen a lot of church people burn out over time. And I really, truly hope that there will be a rotation here so that some of the folks who have been carrying a lot feel they can pass the baton to others when they're feeling like they need to put other aspects of their life in the forefront. So here's a bit of a pitch. If you are in a place in your life right now to offer more of your unique gifts, this would definitely be a good time to consider, to discern what aspect of church life you feel called to be more involved with. But you'll get no pressure from me if this is not the right time for you, or if none of the calls for volunteers are appealing to you right now. Don't let any desperate pleas be what urges you out of a guilt or a sense of duty to step forward. Teresa Morton, co-president at Beacon Unitarian, talks about the sacred no. In the end, it just doesn't work for the individual or the congregation to say yes when you really wish you could say no. That's my 2 cents worth. But there are so many ways to bring your gifts to this community. You'll want to discern where you feel what the Quakers call a leading. Maybe a nudge is a better word for you. And maybe where you're drawn to participate isn't the biggest need of the congregation, but maybe, just maybe, it would turn out to be right for you and for the congregation. When we talk later about the many aspects involved in a professional minister's work, and in my opinion, therefore, in our shared ministry, there are so many places where someone might find enjoyment and even spiritual development. Because the words minister and ministry are sometimes used interchangeably, I'd like to look a bit at the words and what they mean for us. I asked some of my Unitarian buddies what they saw as the difference between minister and ministry. Here are some of the responses. When I think of minister, I think of the ordained person. Ministry is open to all if they choose to engage. I like that definition. Ministry can be anything that promotes the well-being of the congregation. Teresa Morton said, ministry is the act of giving and receiving, the wellspring of community, but it should be giving joyfully, she emphasized. The minister has specialized training and can inspire and support the community to do ministry together. I then asked them, what do you feel your ministry has been during the time you were on your congregation's board? Teresa said, on the board, I see my ministry as listening to the congregation. I listen, I think, I act. I aspire to create a space for us to be our best selves. Another friend said that when they were board president, they saw their ministry to identify potential trouble spots and see what they could do to help resolve them. A past board member, now on a congregational retreat planning team, said, "I'm looking for ways to actively engage people. I feel group rituals are important for the spirit of the congregation because they're so experiential. Rituals make sure we're not just in our heads." So whose ministry is it? We often talk of a period of time as identified with a particular professional minister. At Vancouver Unitarians, for instance, we old-timers talk about Philip Hewitt's ministry or Stephen Epperson's ministry, etc. But I like the idea that the professional ministry is doing ministry with the congregation. So it's the congregation's ministry. Last year, the United Church near me in Kitsilano welcomed a new minister at the same time as Van Yu was welcoming Sean Gauthier. At Reverend Jeff Rock's debut service, he said, "You'll never hear me say I'm the minister at Canadian Memorial. I'll always say I minister with Canadian Memorial." Shared ministry. He gets it. So I'm going to give a reading for a contemplative period. It's words by Marge Piercy, "To Be of Use." It's in the Unitarian hymnal, so you might have come across it before. And then we'll have 2 minutes of silence and then a special presentation by Chris. This is all true of me, by the way. The people I love the best jump into the work head first, without dallying in the shallows, and swim off with sure strokes almost out of sight. They seem to become natives of that element, the black, sleek heads of seals bouncing like half-submerged balls. I love people who harness themselves, an ox to a heavy cart, who pull like water buffalo with massive patience, who strain in the mud and muck to move things forward, who do what has to be done again and again. I want to be with people who submerge in the task, who go into the fields to harvest and work in a row and pass the bags along, who are not parlor generals and field deserters, but move in a common rhythm when the food must come in or the fire be put out. The work of the world is common as mud. Botched, it smears the hands, crumbles to dust. But the thing worth doing, well done, has a shape that satisfies, clean and evident. Greek amphoras for wine or oil, Hopi vases that held corn, are put in museums, but you know they were made to be used. The pitcher cries for water to carry, and a person for work that is real.
Morning. Sorry to interrupt your reverie, but I'm Chris Millar, and I was asked to say a few words about my experience of becoming part of the North Shore Unitarian community, and I'm happy to do so. Some of you probably heard this, but my parents were founding members of the Vancouver Church and of the North Shore Unitarians. But other than 1 year of church school, I never really was involved at all. But I kind of got the gist of it from the conversations around the table. Philip Hewitt married me and David 50 years ago in my backyard, in my parents' backyard. Yeah, and Stephen Atkinson did a fantastic job at both my parents' services when they died. And in 2010, when Dad died, my mom got a phone call from Allison. And Allison asked if she'd like some people to come over and sing Christmas carols at her house. And Mom was thrilled. She loves singing. And I got myself invited. And we had a lovely evening. And I expressed an interest in singing, having never been in a choir before. And Allison said, "Well, come on along to the choir." And I was like, ah! But I did it, and I never looked back. I get so much pleasure out of the singing and the friends and the learning of music, and that was my first involvement here. I remember the first time Allison told the choir, thanked us for giving a gift to the congregation, and I was kind of befuddled in a way because I thought, what? We're the ones who are getting it. But that was sort of the idea of shared ministry, I guess. I don't know. One year, really early on, there was a women's retreat organized by Liz Moffat and Catherine, I think. Yeah, and we went over to Vancouver Island and stayed there for a couple of nights. And at the end of the time, we went around the group and said what we'd learned. And I said that what I learned is that Unitarians didn't just talk the talk, but they walked the walk of kindness and inclusion. And that is a rare and beautiful kind of community to find. Allison needed someone to organize the music library, so that's just collecting and filing all the sheet music that we use. And I thought, I can do that. That sounds pretty easy and useful. And I was retired, and I'd made kind of a personal vow never to join anything that required meetings. Yeah, it is funny, isn't it, Barry? So the choir library was an independent task, and there were no meetings. And plus, every time I did it, some friends volunteered to help me, and we always had a really good time, and I got to know them, and we had a fun and many hands make light work kind of experience. So that was my second involvement. When the kerfuffle with the previous minister erupted, I realized how dear this community had become to me, and the community and all that goes on here had become to me. So at that point, I stepped up to do what I could to help preserve the place. And now, despite my vow to avoid commitments that required meetings, I joined the board. That was my third involvement. What a group of lovely and hardworking people they are. Who knew that meetings could be a pleasure? And once again, getting involved has deepened my connection here. And once again, I've made new friends and had a lot of fun, which I always like to have. I see now that there are so many opportunities for involvement in this exciting rebuild of this place. And many of you already provide so much service that helps keep us thriving. Perhaps some of you wouldn't mind getting more involved. Did this mic go off? Is it good? Okay. But you might be unsure of how to do that, or worried like me that it would be too onerous or something that you didn't want to do. Well, we've started collecting ideas of things that need doing, and we're going to put them out there when we get to it. We got to talk a bit more about that. But here are a few for now. And just invite your friends to the movie night. Maybe there's someone who'd like to mow the lawn with the self-propelled mower, or blow some leaves off the parking lot. Perhaps being a Sunday greeter would appeal to you. And if you like baking goodies, they are always welcome at special occasions and at lunch after Sunday services. If you're interested, I hope you can find a way to share the ministry that adds richness to your life the way it has for me. Thank you.
Well, Chris, that story is exactly what I love to hear. People discerning where they want to serve, doing it carefully, and then changing their mind when the time comes. So how do we grow our personal and shared ministries and abilities? I've been poring over a 2013 document the Unitarian Universalist Association put out called Fulfilling the Call. It outlines the many responsibilities and tasks of professional ministries. So far as I know, no one else has used this very thorough document as a way to look at lay ministry or shared ministry, the things members and friends do that may complement, extend, or support the professional minister's work, or for congregations like your own who do not have an ordained minister that we all participate in. The introduction to this 39-page document mentions that one of the many reasons this work was undertaken was that sometimes a person would start attending church, hear an inspiring sermon delivered to a rapt congregation, and they go, I could do that. I'd love to do that. Did anyone here have that response on your first visit? No, me neither. Growing up unchurched, but hearing so much about Unitarian churches being different, I was actually struck at how is this different? What's the difference between a sermon or reflection and a lecture? What does the minister actually do in their other 34 hours in the week? Well, this document would have nicely answered that last question. But I actually do personally know of at least one person who has said they literally had that thought on their first visit to Vancouver Unitarian congregation, and they are now well on their way to ordination, so it could happen. The grid in this document shows 4 levels of competency, from basic to intermediate to expert or exceptional, for about 100 different tasks. I don't think snow blowing or leaf raking is on there, but it could be. But they do caution that ministers, especially in their first call with a small congregation, they might indeed be the one that comes early to do those tasks. It would definitely be something of a reality check for someone considering a career in ministry. It makes it really clear that the job goes way beyond Sunday morning preaching and probably includes things that they'll find less inspiring and perhaps be less gifted at. Indeed, another intention of that work was to let search committees and congregations know that they're not likely to find someone who scores expert in all of the 7 areas, and possibly also for ministers to be honest of where their strengths and weaknesses lie. So on the other hand, if even thinking about delivering your reflections up here has you going, no way, it does not appeal to me at all. The good news is, as Chris said, you don't have to go there to still be part of North Shore's shared ministry. As another one of our songs, Love Will Guide Us, says, if you cannot speak before thousands or even 100, you can heal the world with your love. Simply showing up and smiling goes a long way to building a religious community. And somewhere among the many tasks of ministry, including social justice, pastoral care, and spiritual development, you may discover a new focus that you would find both enjoyable and perhaps challenging in a good way. Although I came to the Unitarian Church with what they call transferable skills, having worked as a college instructor and workshop facilitator, I'd been attending for more than 5 years before I was asked and agreed to lead one of the summer worship services. At the time, 1995, I was frankly pretty freaked out about messing things up. Would I mix up the order of chalice lighting and the opening words? Fortunately, a good friend coached me through, and I lived to be asked again. Most years since then, I've done 1, sometimes 2, or even 3 worship services a year. I never find the preparation easy, but it's something like doing a major paper at university. I start with an idea, I do a lot of research, and the working document gets larger and larger until I have to edit it down. Along the way, I always learn a lot, and I'm glad to have done it. Margaret Atwood is quoted as saying, "No one enjoys writing. People enjoy having written." For me, sharing my reflections to a Unitarian church is something like that. Several years after that first service, I said to the same friend how much I valued the opportunity to delve into a topic, do the research, consider the songs and poetry that might go with my words, see if I've got a personal story or 2 to add to the mix, and then to share it with the congregation. In fact, I mused, I'm not sure I'd still be here if it wasn't for that yearly challenge. My friend looked at me a little aghast and said, "You do know that that's a very unusual thing to say." Maybe it is, but I'm not the only one in the UU universe who feels that way. So these 4 levels of competency, verbs, matter. As I delved into the details of the Fulfilling the Call report, I was interested in noticing that many of the verbs in column 4, expert or exceptional, are all about supporting others, not so much doing it yourself. Column 4 tasks often start with words like encourage, mentor, collaborate, teach, empower, develop others. So it seems the highest competency level is not so much about being exceptional as about helping others become exceptional. My current model of exceptional preaching is the Right Reverend Mary Ann Edgar Buddy, Bishop of the Episcopal Diocese of Washington, D.C. You may have heard her ask President Donald Trump to be merciful in her sermon after the U.S. presidential inauguration. I will never have her gifts, but I want to learn from her courage and clarity. Book report time. I bought her book called How We Learn to Be Brave. So as well as delivering an expert sermon, she's also exceptional in encouraging, inspiring, empowering as well. I feel encouraged by her presence in the world. She's written another book about preaching as spiritual practice called Gathering Up the Fragments, which I've also bought. I had to order in from Banyan Books, and it took about a month, but I knew that Marianne would not like me ordering from Amazon. Although aimed at professional Christian ministers, I bet I'll learn some things there. Maybe I'll start a Marianne Buddy book club. I know already there will be things I'll want to discuss with other Unitarians. Most of us know, intellectually at least, that the professional minister can't be and do everything. It was refreshing to hear Reverend Jeff Rock in the debut sermon I already mentioned say clearly, "We learned in theological school never to start a sermon with sorry, but I've met people here who know the Bible better than I do," he said. Sorry. I've also met people from your 5 contemplative groups who are way more centered and grounded than I am. Sorry. He was hired to be their lead minister. They have 2 other ministers, the term they'd used for years. But he didn't like that title much, so he changed it to coordinating minister. As he says in that sermon, ministers do a lot of coordinating. Sometimes he said, the best thing I can do is put 2 people together and step away and let them carry on. Maybe exceptional shared ministry for all of us is sometimes resisting doing things solo, even though it's often easier, and finding ways to coordinate, mentor, support, encourage, and collaborate. May it be so.
So much fun. If you like singing, come and join the choir. And thank you so much for that response to Mary and Chris's inspiration choir. And thank you, Mary and Chris, for sharing your insights with us today. I love working with both of you on services for our community. You both are such good communicators who make me laugh, and you make me think deeply as well. It's a good combo, don't you think? We so appreciate hearing from both of you today. And just so you know, Mary will be with us for coffee after the service. She would love to chat with you, so bring on your questions, Unitarian or otherwise. And now, will our ushers please come forward as I invite us all into the spiritual practice of generosity. Our Sunday plate offerings go to support worthy organizations beyond our walls, as differentiated from our pledges, which support the inner workings of this congregation. Today, your contributions, unless marked otherwise, will go in full to the North Shore Crisis Services Society, which provides transitional housing and other support for women and families leaving violence on the North Shore. This effective nonprofit understands that violence against women and children is a societal issue, and that equality for women is at the heart of a healthy society. Please give generously if you are able. In gratitude for your heartfelt generosity and what it does to help others beyond this community, we give thanks. And our heartfelt thanks also goes to the many folks who help present our services every Sunday. It really takes a multi-talented and conscientious group to make it all happen. And it feels good to help with such a creative process. Now, we are a busy community with many ongoing activities. Please be sure to read your weekly e-bulletins and maybe give the website a little look over too to make sure you're not missing anything. And we'll highlight just a few of those things, those upcoming events today. I'll just mention on Paul's behalf that this Tuesday is the last of the guitar group and singing group, and apparently I overheard that they had a really great time on Tuesday evening, so you can still join with them for that. And Allison has a new art project she's going to pull us into.
See, it's not hard. So, yes, I sit with the Sunday Services Committee, of course, and every now and then we say we need something different for the backdrop, to do something interesting, and I have an idea, but I just think it would be so great to join people together, having ideas, and tell me what your ideas are, and your colors that you want, or the shapes, and the suggestions that you would like. So if you have anywhere in you some sort of creative spark, and you would love to come together with a group of people, and we first of all just vision, what is it that we would like for another backdrop there? And then we create it small, and I can do Photoshop kind of stuff, so we can experiment on that. And then we just do it on a piece of paper, and you square it, and then you square it up on there, and then you have a whole bunch of people come, and they throw paint at it, and bingo. It's not that hard. So if you're interested at all in participating in the next backdrop that we're going to do up there, then please either email me or give me a call or just speak to me after the service. Thank you.
And I'll just remind you about our second garden project, not just the butterfly garden, but Marsh and Jim's Adopt a Plant initiative. And this is to replace some of the grounds that were exposed when some of those trees had to be removed. And there's lots going on, and you can adopt a plant and to support it. And Marcia and Jim will be at the back there on the wall where there's stuff about this, and they'd be happy to talk with you more about that. Barry, film night. Oh. Yeah.
Hi. How many people were at the film thing early in February? The Big Fish was what it was called. Fabulous show. We were here. We enjoyed it. It was kind of fun. And Andrea Fast and Brian McConnell are doing another one this Friday. This Friday. 6:45 is when you get in. 7:15 is when the show starts. They're revealing the show now. It's called The Postman, in Italian, Il Postino. Probably didn't pronounce that properly. It's an Italian film that's set in post-World War II. And it's about love, lust, and politics. Perfect for a Unitarian. And it's also about discovering the power of language. Now, for those of you, anybody speak Italian here? No Italian? Oh, good. Andrea, I expect you to be there, because it is in Italian, but there are English subtitles. So you won't be at a handicap. And it's a story about a Chilean poet who has an unusual friendship with a local love-struck postman. It also offers a critique of Italian life of the time. So Friday night, 6:45, we're trying to put these things on so that we get more community here and more community involvement. So I would encourage you to come. I would encourage you to bring somebody and have them enjoy the time, enjoy the movie. We will have refreshments. We're also going to be selling beer and wine. There'll be popcorn. It'll be a real movie night. These are the tickets. Andrea Fast will have them. It's $20 to come, and we'd love to have you. Thank you.
Now, next week, we have a service with Bruce Grierson called UU Juice. Coffee as the spiritual elixir of the examined life. Sounds like fun. It will be a deep dive into what fuels us, and it will feature the wisdom of Bruce's nephew. He's the co-founder of Phil and Sebastian Coffee Company, purveyors of arguably the best. Ooh, Bruce, did you have something to say? The best cup of joe he calls it, in North America, and probably the most ethical. Unless there's been a change.
Sounds so much fun, Sue, except we're not doing it.
Oh, we're not? Oh,
No.
I forgot to check with Allison.
Yeah, we pivoted, and next week we're going to do a service on archery, Zen and the art of archery. And I think it's going to be good. It's not cooked yet. And we'll do the UU juice in 3 weeks. So it's still coming. It's just not next week.
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
That's okay. We get 2 promotions. But speaking of coffee, please join us for coffee and tea and treats at the back of the room, courtesy again of Diane Hicks after the service. And I just want to say that I saw, just after the service started, Kay Wagner come into the room, and she's sitting at the back, and many of you will know her over the years. She was very involved in the hospitality. So be sure to say hello to Kay. Welcome, Kay. And all right, we have another song for you.
Ukulele group. Since before Christmas, stalwart group of musicians have been getting together and playing ukulele and learning ukulele. And we are going to be accompanying you guys as you sing This Little Light of Mine. So, here we go.
Please stand to sing. For the closing words.
Too much shining light? No. Okay, these words are by Karen Johnston. Magic is afoot. There's magic afoot here, and reason, ritual, and intellectual rigor, compassion, mutual care, delight, skepticism, deep comfort, disappointment, tears and laughter, challenge, it's all right here. Every Sunday and every time we get together. Don't look too closely, though. Behind the curtain, you might notice a dropped line, a skipped element, on purpose or accidentally, a missed cue, one part going too long, another going shorter than planned, someone not quite on their game, a baton passed and dropped for all to see. But then again, do look closely, see teamwork or shared ministry at play. Adjustments are made with a simple word or gesture, a deft drop, an even defter catch, a kind reminder, a gentle laughing at oneself, a collective forbearance, an assumed forgiveness, a truly it did not matter, sparks of synergy, moments of grace. Magic is afoot, bundled up in the work of the people raising up that which is worthy. Thank you.
We extinguish this flame. With us the light of vision and the warmth of hope. The world calls us to live with depth, meaning, and purpose. We go forth with courage and love. Let's circle round for freedom.